Public comment? Do you have any? Yeah, come on over here. Bill?
Anybody else have one?
Nope, come on. Please join us.
My name is Edward W. Lever. I live at 62 Charles Street, right here in Lunenburg. I have a daughter that just graduated from Lunenburg High School. And I had a disturbing event which took place back in May. My daughter played on the lacrosse team, and they had a banquet, and I went up to the snack bar amongst other parents, and I tried to get a dinner plate for to go to my father, myself, which is my daughter's grandfather, and myself to go to the dinner. And I was told at the snack bar that there were no tickets available for me, and I said, all right. I said, maybe it's just a first come, first serve, come as you are. So I had my cash out, and the girl came back to me and said there were no tickets. I said, well, you don't understand. I'm a parent. I'm a father. My daughter plays on the team, and I feel as though I have the right to go to my daughter's banquet. Then I was told that you had to be invited. I said, okay, well, I'm divorced, so maybe you didn't have my address. So I wrote my address. I said, I'll be happy to write my address down, and maybe you can send me an invitation. She said, well, it doesn't work that way. The way it works is we email invitations out to people. So once again, with my fourth attempt to go to my daughter's dinner, I said, well, here's my email address. Maybe you can email me an invitation to the banquet at the Apple Tree Hill. I was then told I had to call my ex-wife, and I find that really disturbing, and I can't accept it, and I want the whole board here to know that is wrong. So I thought about it for a little bit. I wasn't gonna. The woman had a little huddle and came back to me, told me that was it. I said okay. So I went and contacted the principal at school, and he told me, of course you can go. We'll look into it. Actually, it was the assistant principal, and I didn't hear back from him. And then I went to graduation on June 7th, that Saturday. And the person that told me that I could not go to my own daughter's banquet was sitting up next to Loxie Joe Cobbs. So I found that a little odd. I didn't know her position in the school. So after the graduation, I introduced myself to her, and she told me that. I said, remember me, I'm Bill Lever, and she said, oh yeah. I said, I'm still looking for those tickets to my daughter's banquet. And she said, I told you there's no tickets. I said, okay. So Monday morning, I told her I would go to the school and I would ask the principal for tickets. I got a call Monday morning from the principal, and he told me he was sorry, there's nothing he can do. And I'm going to stop there for tonight. I just want the board to hear my story, and I would like you to talk about it. And maybe at a later date, you probably have a busy schedule tonight. But as a parent, I cannot accept it, and I won't accept it. And I'm going to continue. I'm not going to stop. I just don't want to see this ever happen to another parent.
I know it was me.
And Heather, you're the one that told me.
Yes.
And
I did, and I spoke with Loxie about it.
I'm not going to accept that. As a parent, you took that night away from my daughter and I, and there was no reason to do so.
It's the daughter who invites. The girls are the ones who ask the people they want to attend the banquet.
That's your answer to me?
That is what I was told. And then, Rob, were you the assistant principal that you spoke with?
Yes, and
yes.
I talked to Mrs. Spadafino, because that would be a principal decision, and
then he looked into it.
He looked into it. That was, I did. I had a conversation, and I said I would look into it. At first, I said, yeah, you should. I didn't know, so I said I will look into it, which I did, and I talked to the principal at the time.
We're all grown-ups here. There's no way you're going to tell me that a freshman or a sophomore is going to go home and say, Mom, Dad, you're invited to my banquet. I've coached teams. I still coach teams. I coach in Fitchburg, and there's no way. It's automatic that a parent should be invited to go to their son or daughter's banquet. And if that's your answer to me, I'm not accepting it. And I think the board should talk about this, and I'm going to continue to come back and discuss it, because you can't do that to a parent. It's not right. This is one of our public schools. I grew up in this town. I've never heard of such a thing. I've never in my life heard it. I wish I had the Monty Tech. I was invited to a Monty Tech a sports banquet. because I'm involved with sports. And I wish I brought that letter tonight, and I will bring it to the next meeting. But that letter to parents and friends was, we encourage parents, friends, and family to come to our events. And you know what, Heather? You discouraged me from seeing my own daughter.
I did not. That was not
You
my
told
fault.
me I could not-
We don't sell tickets. That's just not the way banquets
In
work.
summary, I did go to the banquet. I could not have a dinner plate. It was at Apple Tree Hill. I sat in the other room, and when it was time for the awards, I slid the door open. It was very quiet. I was dressed appropriately. I just got out of work, so maybe I'm not dressed appropriately tonight. But I watched my daughter receive an award, and it was no thanks to you. And Heather, I'm not accepting it. No way, and I want the board to know this. And I've talked to the superintendent, and for some reason, she couldn't get back to me. I went and had a visit with her, and I talked to her, and I was very polite to her, and I discussed it with her on a great level, and I asked to have a meeting with you and I and her. And granted, she was retiring, and she was leaving the system, but...
Oh, she did not ask me to have a meeting.
No,
Yeah.
I had and she promised she'd get back to me, and she didn't. And I want everybody in this room to know it, and I'm not accepting it. So you can discuss it amongst yourselves, you can discuss it with me another time, because I don't want, like I said, I know you're busy, but this is not acceptable. I mean, you guys are the school committee. I mean, it's an abuse of power.
It was not, I was just giving you the message from the Booster
From who?
Club. It is the girls. The girls have the right to invite who they want. You have a divorce in play here. Okay, there's a divorce here.
I'm not the only one that got
And I think that they
divorced.
looked into your divorce situation. I have no idea, and that's why Mr. Spadafino said there was nothing he could do.
I had every right to go to that dinner, and I'll take this further. I'm not stopping here. So if that's your answer to me, I do not accept it. And you're going to do it to somebody else. You're going to do it to
I
me
am
next year
not.
when my son has an event?
No, I am not involved in your son's sports.
You will be.
No, I won't.
You will be.
No,
You will be.
there is no way I will be.
So that's why I'm here tonight, and I want the board to know it. I mean, is there any comment? Is Heather the only one that's going to comment on this issue, or you can leave it at that? If that's acceptable to the board, that's okay. It's okay
They looked into
that Bill Levy can't go to his daughter's banquet.
They
I have no
looked-
right to go.
I know that they looked into personal information that has nothing to do with the school. It has to do with the family issues.
There's no restraining order.
I
There's
don't
no
know
reason
that, I
that
don't,
you shouldn't have did what you did. I did not go to my daughter's senior lacrosse
have you
banquet.
talked to Gabby about this?
I don't think that's any of your business.
Okay.
Yeah. You stopped me from going. I couldn't get a dinner plate. So, that being said, does anybody else have any comment? Sorry to drop this on you so hard, but it's important to me, and I don't want to see this happen to another parent. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to present my case again. It's wrong, and I don't know if I don't think you realize it. How would you like it if I did that to you? If I was in charge, when I was back in college, when I was running track events, and I said to you, sorry, can't go. There's no tickets for you. It's not acceptable. You can't do that to someone. You can't do that to a parent. I'm a parent. I went to that. There was probably 300 people at this event. There was probably 300 people at the event. Of 250 maybe.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, the room was full.
There
Because I was there. I couldn't eat with everybody else when I was there. So, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but I want everybody to know that, and I'm disturbed by it. I'm disturbed by it, and I hope that the board will discuss this. I don't know if you discuss it tonight, or we'll discuss it later date, but I want to continue with this, because I don't want to see this happen to another parent. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
We have the chair's report, which is going to take place. Carol, you're
Yes.
going to fill us in on a workshop you attended?
Yes, I attended a workshop on the new accountability system that the state has put in, and it was required because of Every Student Succeeds Act in 2015. It was required that a different type or a change be made to the accountability system. So previously, 75% of, let me back up. Previously, schools were determined to be level 1, level 2, level 3, 4, or 5. And it was 75% based on achievement and 25% based on growth. So under the new system, they are adding still the achievement, still the growth, but high school completion, your graduation rates, progress towards English proficiency for ELL learners, chronic absenteeism, and also advanced coursework completion, which means that any student at the high school that takes one or more what they consider advanced courses adds to your accountability score. And by advanced courses, they don't just mean AP courses. Anything that is, for example, higher than an Algebra 2 class is considered advanced. And it doesn't matter if the child took one course or 4 courses. Somebody who takes 4 AP courses doesn't tip you any more than somebody who took 1. So that's what they're going to be doing. And they're not going to assign levels any longer because they felt the levels were misunderstood. People felt that if they didn't get to the highest level, they didn't achieve what they should have, and that was not the case. So what they're going to do is, if you meet your target, which is 75% to 100% of your target, then that is considered the highest criteria. And then if you partially meet your target, that is still considered strong criteria. And then they have 2 areas for schools that need intervention, where previously, if you were like the lowest level school, the state would come in and swoop you away. Well, that's not going to happen anymore. They don't have that. It's clearly delineated. The commissioner decides if a school needs help. It won't be at the district level anymore. It will be at a school level. So they have done some very major changes to it. And the report card that you get that includes all of this plus more is now going to include things like access to arts education. It's going to include how many students in the 9th grade failed 1 course. Because they found that if students in the 9th grade fail 1 course, and it doesn't matter what course it is, they are 4 times more likely to drop out from school. It's a really interesting statistic. They also will include some things dealing with educators. How many educators are teaching out of their certification and that type of thing will all get rolled into the report card that DESE puts out every year. So there are some changes going down as far as the way it's being reported. Another thing they're working on is they've been talking about trying to close the gap between the lower performing subgroup in your school and where most of your school goes. They are finding it is better to focus on bringing lower performing subgroups up rather than talking about closing the gap, because some schools have been rewarded for actually the upper group going down because the gap is closer. So they're changing the way they're looking at that too. So the lower subgroups, they're going to be watching how they train up. It's not going to be so much about what the gap was. So those were the high points. And I'm sure that more will be coming out about it, but it will be in place for this year. Another piece was that after this coming year, everything is going to be based on a 2-year look at a cohort rather than 1 year. Maybe you had a bunch of kids move in, maybe there's been transient movement. So they're trying to do something about that. They're taking a look at making sure that what is reported is actually what your school district did, not because you had 12 kids move in the week before the test. So there's some movement in that area as well. So it was a lot of information in 2 hours that I will not impart to you all at this point. But if you have any questions, I do have some additional information I can leak through if you have questions about it. But, suffice to say that there will be changes and it's going to look a little different. That's all I have.
Okay, and we have warrants on the table to approve. You guys have them? And the minutes from July 18th, did you all review?
I did.
Yes.
And I'll take a motion.
I moved to accept the meeting minutes from July 18th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Dr. Burnham's update. She has a lot.
We do. We have an awful lot to update this evening. First up is a personnel update. We have a more updated version of
Oh, yeah. Yep.
that update. If you've had a chance to review, do you have questions about that?
Wow. We're moving along. Okay, great. The only thing I didn't see was, did I see it? I don't know. The kindergarten teacher.
I think the only thing I would have to say about that...
Kindergarten teacher? Kindergarten?
I think there was a hire of the kindergarten teachers. Was that this morning, yesterday?
Because it wasn't on our, I just didn't see it, so I just wondered what the update was with the kindergarten teacher.
So that report was generated on Thursday.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
things change pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So the kindergarten teacher was hired Monday.
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 So we do have that.
So we've got that.
Okay.
So we're... So that's a moment in time.
A moment in time when Bert left.
So we've had 3 work days since, and we've done some hiring, and we've had some other resignations since that time. So hopefully this committee likes this format.
Oh, I like this.
Yes.
I absolutely love this.
Very much.
Yeah, thank you.
If you have any ideas, any other additional information that you would like, I think certainly include that.
Oh,
Moving forward, which is
great.
either let me know tonight, or any ideas to the superintendent would be appreciated.
Okay. I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would ask for in terms of our packets is that they all would be the same format, preferably PDF.
Oh, you want it PDF formatted?
Well, it's...
Oh, we were going to talk about something.
Yeah, I think it's just easier for me to mark up.
Sure. And I think that we can probably work out details like this during our workshop meeting
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
But I would like to, if I may, just welcome our new hires and congratulate those that were promoted.
Yes.
Just to
Yep, so
thank
we
you
have
for-
a few here tonight.
Yep.
Mr. McGrath.
Mr.
Oh.
McGrath.
Mr. McGrath was appointed as the interim principal at the high school. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm very humbled and very excited. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. James Fennell has been appointed as the interim athletic director.
How you doing?
Well, we'll be back to quality night together.
And unfortunately, Mrs. Manford Scott couldn't be with us tonight, but she's been appointed to the interim assistant principal at the high school. And Mr. McKenna was appointed as the interim principal of the primary school, and he had a family obligation and couldn't be here tonight. So the hope is that at our next meeting, you'll have a chance to meet both Mr. McKenna and Mrs. Scott to say hello and welcome to the admin team. Appreciate you both being here tonight. Welcome aboard.
I know your awesome letter went out today.
Yes.
Right?
The newsletter?
The newsletter, it looked great.
Oh, I did.
It had so much information.
It was so
was-
clear to me, and I'm not a sports person.
No,
And I know
I
exactly what.
am, Wendy is, and I have to actually look at it so I can get that app in the Twitter and that for sports season this fall.
I'm glad.
Goalie, increase in communication.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say, I think one thing our athletics department has been, craving
Yes.
is real clear communication.
Yeah.
That's great to see.
Yeah, it's not a problem at all. I try my best to make it easy for parents. I know how busy it is as a parent, going here, there, and everywhere. So the least that I can do on my end is to get avenues for you to get that information. So I try really hard to make sure that's updated and easy accessible for parents on the go.
Thank you both for coming
Yeah,
tonight.
thank you.
And that came through in his interview, so.
Oh, yeah. It's so nice to get that information.
So next on the list of items under the superintendent's report is an update on the budget. Last meeting, you signed the
yeah,
open
yeah,
POs
yeah.
that were being carried forward. There's a summary of where we stand
Yeah, we have
with
that,
those
yep.
open POs.
Yep.
If there are any questions or...
We talked about last time how some of these had gone way in the past. Is there any indications of when these will get wrapped up? Is there?
Mr.
I'll invite
Cassidy.
Mr. Cassidy up to address that.
As I mentioned before, there are invoices being processed against these purchase orders as we speak.
Yeah, there was a set, I think, that went through.
Right, so there's a good chance that some of those are probably tied to the POs that are open. Once again, this is standard practice in Lunenburg and in other districts as well. There are just these open POs that we wait for pending invoices. The only difference is this year, in a new practice that's being implemented through town hall, is that the school committee signs off on it. But typically, these are just kind of closed out during the year. I can't imagine them being extended deep into the school year.
There was one for 9 cents from Unitil.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Did you see it?
The 9
9 cents. 9 cents.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
So for some reason, there may be, I don't have an explanation on why that is still...
I was just wondering about that
Transposition
one.
and-
9 cents just
The
jumped
only
out at me.
explanation that I...
As opposed to the $10,000 one.
The only explanation that I can provide is that on the previous list, that invoice or that PO was much higher. We received the invoice.
Oh, right.
It was still on the list
Right, okay.
to keep open,
Uh-huh.
but some invoice was paid
And the 9 cents.
and that's what was left.
I'm sure. It just jumped out at me.
All of our utility bills have been received.
Okay.
So things move pretty quickly. So as with our hiring and with our POs, it's
We're gonna try to
closing
get
out
it
things and moving as quickly as we
Okay.
can this time of year.
All right.
Okay, next up, you have a memo relative to the summer maintenance work that was
Oh, yeah,
completed.
that was so awesome.
If you have any questions about any of those projects, Mr. Long is here to answer questions.
No questions, but thank you.
I
Yeah,
know.
the
For
information,
the information.
This was
and
clear.
putting it like this
Thank you.
in this format, I love it.
It's just so
I'm
great.
Yeah.
thrilled with the information.
And I'm so excited that the Turkey Hill cafeteria curtains have been replaced. You have no idea what an eyesore that is when you drive down Northfield every day. So that was one of my big things when I was going to Turkey Hill. So that was nice to see.
Yeah.
Just me.
The building looks fantastic. I've
Yeah,
had an opportunity
yeah.
to walk all of the buildings, and wow, The Turkey Hill floors sparkle and shine.
Because they're new, right?
They did a
Yeah.
phenomenal
It's
job.
asbestos abatement, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They did a very nice job. So no other questions? Okay, next up is the website updates. So our district and school websites have a new look. Pam Valley was unable to be here tonight to be acknowledged for all her hard work on this project, but this was her master teacher project. She did an awful lot of research prior to the summer months, really to move the district web pages to a place where they are ADA compliant.
I didn't even realize that.
If you'll note, when you go to the district web page as an example and scroll all the way down, there's a little link that you can click if you need to have the website accessible in an alternate format. You can put a request in and we can accommodate that. So, it's broadening the accessibility. And I think, too, that the page has a more streamlined appearance. Hopefully that will allow people to quickly look and search what they're looking for, and hopefully they find it. We are still working to add information and materials to all of those web pages, so we're still a little bit of a work in progress, but there is a nice new difference in the way it looks, and we're hopeful that it will broaden access.
Have they rolled out live then?
I believe they're all live.
Yeah, I
I
looked
haven't
at them the
been on
other
the
day.
website
They
in
all
a couple days.
I looked the other day.
Okay, so
All key information
Is right-
that you would be looking for is right there, and I think that's
in
a
the
big
same
difference.
format.
In
That was
busy
the big
day-to-day life, people don't always have time to click and let's go to all the tabs and search for
Right.
things. I was looking at everything that was present there, and it was pretty much everything that you would need at your fingertips, so it was well done.
It was very exciting.
And certainly, we would welcome feedback from anybody using the websites. They're welcome to provide that directly to me, because obviously we want to make sure that it's user-friendly. And the nice thing is that this new format allows it to be accessible mobile, on the go, so you can get it on your phone.
Oh, yeah, because the other one, you really couldn't. You
Right.
could only get a little
The
partial
tabs,
glimpse
you
of
get
it.
partial, and then if you
Yeah.
clicked a tab, you couldn't
Yeah,
get it.
that was
So it's-
frustrating.
And pretty much these days, people are
I'm only,
living by their phone.
yeah.
Yes.
Getting all of their information that way, so it's a nice additional
Yeah.
feature. So we're excited about the
I
new look.
That is awesome.
Additionally, we're just making you aware that the contract for transportation with D-Bus service is coming to a close at the end of the year, the current contract. So likely in January, we'll be putting on a bid. And just to make you aware, there are a few back-to-school events happening. The primary school hosted the kindergarten social. I was over there. There was a great turnout. Students were able to take a little ride on the bus, to be a little acclimated to what's going to be their new normal routine soon.
That was in the PTO, or that was just the school?
The school.
Oh, that was the school, okay.
The Turkey Hill is also doing a third grade social next week on the 22nd. They're hosting an information night for their choral and band groups for 5th grade parents and students that same evening. Teacher orientation is scheduled for August 22nd for a full day, and the leadership retreat will also be next week. Now that I have a full leadership team.
That's so nice.
Yes, it's definitely nice to have
Yeah.
a full team in place. Very happy about that. So I think that's all I have for our superintendent's report.
So now we are on to, wait, let me just make sure, new business. Oh, we don't have a student rep today, so we're not going to do a student rep report. And that is Mrs. Perry. Your extended day program update and handbook. Okay.
All right, I'm Tammy Perry, I'm the director.
Just sit
I can
down.
sit, relax. I'm going to make this short and sweet.
Don't be stressed.
All the time. So basically, I run the extended day program in the Early Learning Center for the district. I just have a few changes in the handbook, very minor changes, which you're aware that the handbook outlines the overview of the programs. The first change that I added is on the front page. Do you have the ones that are highlighted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I added the location for vacations and the summer program will be determined on enrollment. So basically, depending on our numbers, we'll either split and stay in our buildings at the primary school and Turkey Hill Elementary School, or we'll come together like we did this past summer because of the numbers.
Oh, okay.
And the same with vacation.
Yep.
This past year for vacations, we combined the two programs. The next part that I added is under the medications and health. I added nurses available only during school hours with the exception of the Early Learning Center. That being said is that our Early Learning Center kids that do not attend the preschool programs do not get to see the nurse. They do not have school IDs, so they basically are not in their system.
Oh, the Early Learning Center.
Yeah, so these are just my
That's
Early Learning Center kids. So
separate, yeah.
basically, we were told that, just like we were when we were housed at TC Pastios, if there's anything happens, then we just contact the parent directly. So I just want the Early Learning Center parents aware that we do not see the nurse. And then the last one is I am going to delete on the next page. If it is determined that a student requires a one-to-one services to participate in the program, the parent is responsible for the per-hour cost of the personnel minus the current hourly rate. This was approved in the handbook back in the day, but now I've been told that we cannot do that. And that was by Juliana Hanscom, I guess the lawyer in town, or for the district, said that we cannot charge the parents a staff rate if it requires a one-on-one. So basically, we are taking the child in for the $5 an hour, but we have to pay staff above and beyond that to be that one-on-one.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but that's the only 3 changes in the handbook. Do you guys have any questions?
How is the one-on-one determined? Is that through an IEP meeting or other?
Only if it states that they need a one-on-one in the extended day program. So a child that has
An IEP?
Yes, so if it's stated in their IEP that they need a one-on-one during the school day and that they need extended day services, then I have to find the staff and the person with them. They will not cover it because that piece is not written in the IEP. Only if it states that.
Oh, that's clearly state in IEP that they do.
Yeah, otherwise the special ed department would pick up the funds
Right,
to
okay.
pay the one-on-one. Otherwise, if they don't state it, then our program's responsible for that rate.
Did you have a meeting with Juliana about that?
I just reached out to her and
Okay.
she basically just said it's just the lawyers that were, told them the protocols of how that should be, stated.
In the IEP?
Yeah, it has to be stated in the IEP in order for it to be covered in the extended day program, otherwise we cover the cost.
Okay.
So I'm going to delete that section. Okay.
So can we make sure the IEPs are written correctly?
Well, they have to write it that way.
That's what I mean.
But if they
Well,
feel...
the team would have to determine that that's a
need.
need.
Right,
After
for
school.
socialization.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So this doesn't apply to Early Learning Center students who are not necessarily part of our...
No.
No.
No, it's the extended.
It's ours,
day.
it's the ones coming from
Yeah,
our
So
preschool.
students
Yes.
who are coming into our integrated preschool program
Yes.
Correct.
are typically the ones that would have
Yes, have it written in.
IEPs like that.
Right.
They would be with us during the day. If the team felt that
Right.
extended day was beneficial or necessary,
Mhm.
then they may include that
In their
IEP.
Right.
But if they don't feel that it's a necessary service for the child, then it wouldn't be written into the
Right.
study.
Okay, but then the parents could still send them.
They
Yes.
could. And
And that's when
And that's when it's on
okay.
the program.
Right.
But
and-
if it's not in an IEP, then you don't have to provide a one-on-one. You probably
Until-
want to.
Right, but like,
you wouldn't
for
have to
instance,
legally.
that we'd have one that would bolt and is unsafe
Right.
to themselves and the children in the classroom, so I feel like they would require a one-on-one.
So that's when extended day would take up the cost.
Yes, yeah, and if I can't find one in the allotted time, then I have to take away one of my staff to do that one-on-one, and now I'm taking away my numbers for the program. until I can find somebody. Because typically, you would want somebody with some educational background for that. Anything else? No? All right, so then the program update, I'll just bring you up to speed that basically, for those of you who know, we were housed at TC Passios for 5 years prior to this last school year. We moved back to the primary school. We went from 4 classrooms to 1 classroom, but with the utilization of other space in the building. We are now moving again. We are moving upstairs to the 2nd grade academic wing for our early learning center and extended day program. I basically feel like, just concerned a little just because I do have 3 and 4-year-olds. My biggest concern is like during a fire drill or an active intruder drill, trying to get those little kids out of the building from an upstairs area. But we went over hurdles last year, we'll get over hurdles this year, so we'll make it work. Just going forward, I just, did reach out to Superintendent Burnham that I feel like one of the largest programs that has the most kids going through it in a 10.5-hour day, we're getting less and less amount of space. So we're hoping going forward that maybe somewhere in the future we can secure a spot in the district for our program, because I feel like with the growth in the district that we're just getting pushed and pushed and pushed out. And I did say there will be a time that they would eliminate our program because of there's no room for us.
Yeah. How many kids are in the early learning center now?
Right now I have 15 registrations right now to date.
Okay.
I'm still accepting.
Okay.
Last year I had 21 in the early learning
And
center.
that's just your little early learning center. That's not
That's
after that.
No, that's not. That's our hours between 8:30 and 2:30
Yeah.
For the preschoolers. And then we were close to 400 for our extended day registrations between both programs. So both programs are about 200. So.
Would it be possible for us to get an update later in the fall and see how things are going? This concerns me as well. So I feel like sort of checking in, after you've had a couple of months to assess.
Yes.
I don't know, is that something we can do?
Yeah.
I just want us to keep our finger on the pulse of things, and if you have specific needs, for us to be aware of them before we get to budget season, things like that.
Yes. Yeah, no, I would definitely do that. I appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah. Where at Turkey Hill?
Where
are you housed there?
We are behind the gym in the old health room.
The old room. Okay.
Yeah.
And you get to utilize the gym in the afternoon.
They utilize it in the morning and afternoon for like an hour, just like we do until basketball starts. So that's where we get that 1 hour in the afternoon. And then our early learning center does not have any utilization of the gym during their day with us at all, because classes are going
right.
So.
And there's no outdoor space.
We can go outdoors when it's not being utilized by the grade level.
Right.
So.
And do you find that in the scope of your day, the times that the space is not used jive with...
We have to make it work in order for them to get some outdoor time. And unfortunately, it's very limited.
Yeah, because it's used a lot.
Yeah. So.
And do you use the play area next to the preschool?
The fenced-in playground?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one you use?
Yes.
Okay, because that's the age appropriate.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and they have 2 morning and afternoon.
Yes, so we have the 2
And
sessions with the options going all day for parents who we meet their needs for our program, but it's very hard to get them outside.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Right, so we have to approve this, correct? The changes, we have to, I'll take a motion to approve.
Okay, then it would go to Liz, I believe.
To Liz?
Yeah, and then she'll send me the final copy. Oh, so you're going to approve it?
We're going to approve it right now.
I make a motion to approve the extended day program update and handbook as outlined by Ms. Perry.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Perry, when do you think would be a good time if we wanted to invite you to come back for you to have a good idea of how things are going?
October? November?
That will give us 2 months.
October?
Or November?
November? Okay.
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 All right, before the holidays.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
The one-on-one eighth grade pilot proposal, who's doing that? Are you?
Unfortunately, Mr. Malandrino was
not here.
supposed to be here
I
to
was gonna
present, but
say.
he had a family emergency
Oh, no.
that popped up,
Oh,
so he's
no.
not able to be here.
Oh.
That was exciting to see, though.
So, I can give you a little snapshot.
Yeah, okay.
About 2.5 weeks ago, maybe, Mr. Santry came to me and made me aware that with the move to a one-to-one for all of the ninth grade, there were devices on carts that had been dedicated for use with the ninth grade. All of those devices would now be available. With 9 through 12, all having their own devices going to the library and such, reduces the need for carts available in the library. And when you take a look at, assuming that the 8th grade were all one-to-one, you've got the 6th grade and the 7th grade still going into the library for classes. We looked at the class sizes to figure out what the max class size would be, and we were able to take a few Chromebooks from the carts in the library. And you can see, based on the information provided, there were a few others from different locations that were not in use or a necessary item given the move to one-to-one 9 through 12. And basically we've got access now to enough devices to provide potentially a one-to-one for the 8th grade. That said, I think that we would be looking to recommend this as a pilot. A couple of things to consider. Increased number of devices that now potentially need to be serviced and turned over quickly to get them back in the hands of students. Might put an increased demand on our IT staff. I talked to Mr. Malandrinos about this. I said, if you really think that this is a potential hurdle, I don't even want to bring this forward. And he said no, he felt that they could manage. But again, it would be a pilot year so that we can see how that goes. We'll also just want to be mindful of the fact that he had already established a schedule for replacement of these one-to-one devices. Adding another whole grade will have an impact on that, and that's a budgetary impact as well. So we thought that we would move forward with the idea, propose this idea for your consideration, and really approach this as a pilot to see how this goes, and if it's manageable, if it doesn't have too large a negative impact on the budget. If it does, it was a pilot year. We learned a lot, and we know what we would need to have in place and what the budget would need to support to make it successful long-term.
Do you know with this one-on-one if they're intending for the students to take the computers home with them?
I believe that they would roll out this initiative just the way they did with all of the 9
And I
through 12.
would presume then that Mr. Santry feels that the 8th graders are responsible enough to safely transport and take care of those devices.
He was excited about the potential for this. He really was. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here tonight either.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I know that was
How could
something
they
we
have
talked
a
about
life
in the
outside?
advisory.
So, another piece for you to be aware of, when Mr. Malandrinos emailed me earlier and said that an emergency had come up and he wouldn't be able to be here, he said you wouldn't have to make a decision on this tonight because we wouldn't have enough time to get everything in place to roll out for day one. The earliest we could roll out is probably maybe into the middle of September. So I don't want any of you to feel pressured that you have to make a decision tonight so that we can roll out for the first day, because even if you did decide tonight, we may not be able to put devices in the hand of every 8th grader day one.
So, what do you guys think?
I think it's worth giving it a shot as a pilot program.
Yeah.
I agree.
We can figure out if it's
Otherwise, they're sitting
sustainable.
there, they could be sitting there collecting dust, or
Yeah,
they could
or
be
we can use
utilized.
every day.
And give it a shot.
Yeah, we're never going to know if,
If we don't.
even to the point, the responsibility factor, we're not going to know until
Right.
we try. Because the initial rollout, what Mr. Malandrinos had rolled out to us was two things to look at, coming down and including 9, and then going down to 6. And that was just too big. I mean, that
That's
financial, when we looked at those two financials, that
Yeah,
was just
crazy.
too big
That
for
was too
us.
big. Yeah.
But
Well, the other thing, too, to consider is if at the end of this year, we can't sustain this, it was a
Right.
one-year pilot, the students who worked all year as 8th graders with a one-to-one are going to become
Right.
9th graders with a one-to-one,
Right.
and the 7th graders
Who
who
didn't have
will
one.
come up to 8th grade
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
one-to-one as
So it's how
7th
we
grader,
can
and they
use it.
won't
Yeah.
have one if the pilot year is the only year.
Right.
So there's no negative impact that
for
way.
students having it, and then all of a
Right.
sudden it's
Losing
pulled
it.
away.
Carol, what? Carol.
What is the training for the teachers look like?
We could do some workshops for teachers.
I think they're going to
Yep.
need to know how to utilize them with the kids bringing them home. It's different than having them in your classroom. as
Sure.
well, you know? So I
would
would like to
envision-
see some training for the
Google
teachers.
Classroom, yep. We would be able to provide some workshops
Yeah.
and trainings on that.
Yeah.
Because it is a shift
It's a
in the way
shift
you
in
deliver
the way you
instructions. Yeah.
And vertical teaming, I would think, may be something to look at, because you've had these high school grades who've been working with this now for several years. This
Right.
is
Sure.
this is the beginning of year 3, because when they were initially rolled out.
Right.
So,
So maybe some of our high school teachers could teach some workshops for the 8th grade teachers so that they...
I think our high school teachers need to teach some for their high school teachers, too.
We'll work on that
With
too.
Google Classroom. Don't you think, Mr. McGrath?
I love seeing Google Classroom utilized.
I think it's great. I think Google, and I wish they'd all use them. Every single class, every teacher would have Google
seeing it in
Classroom.
my own home,
Yeah.
working, it's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yep.
It's so nice when their assignments are right there, and they can't say, I don't remember.
And even for editing purposes, from an English teacher
Yes,
standpoint.
absolutely.
Yes, where they send it in, they get it back right there. It's just right there.
And the collaborative
Yeah.
work, when they're in their home space, to be able to still work
Yeah,
with
you can
other
set up
students
groups.
Yeah, yeah.
and work together.
Together
It's-
on a document. Yeah.
When you think about sort of group projects, it used to be
Yeah.
sometimes one child might end up shouldering so much of it, but now that they can truly share in a very simple way, and it's not like, okay, how do we get together
Right.
at somebody's house or the library or wherever,
Right.
it makes collaborative work.
That will
Makes
certainly be
sense.
supported by me. When teachers like
Yeah.
that to do it.
Yeah.
I will absolutely support that.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, so I would take a motion to approve it as a pilot program.
I move to accept the Chromebook 101 initiative for 8th grade as a pilot program for the upcoming school year.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Santry's going to be so excited.
I bet he is.
And I bet there'll be some 8th graders pretty excited too.
I bet they will. So, school committee goals. We have in front of us last year's goals. One of them was not to find a new superintendent, believe it or not.
We added that one.
That was added at the end of the year. What an amazing feat. Okay, so we need to work on these. We don't need to do this today. We need to think about it and work on them. But
I would agree.
For the policy, it goes to section 7, the 7,000.
no, I don't think we did that much on 6,000.
Oh,
No,
we
We were sidetracked a
Yeah,
lot
we
last year.
didn't get as much done as...
So we
Okay.
really have to actually look at 6,000 because we really got sidetracked with all the other
The
stuff
other
that
things
came up
Yep.
in the course of the year.
Okay.
But Wendy, you're not on policy anymore.
No,
It's Jim, remember?
right.
Unless you want to still be on it.
You want to set up athletic advisory?
Huh?
You want the athletic advisory? Do you want to swap? Is that what you just said?
Well, I've already got both, so...
You have both?
I don't need to swap.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked that we gave that
I was having
up.
trouble remembering that.
actually.
Is that right? Did you take that
See,
also?
see.
What?
hold on, here's the list, I do have the list. Where did it go? I had it at the end, right, it's at the end. The list is at the end, so right now, if you want to, let's review, the list is at the end, the organizational structure. So if you want to look at that one more time, because we didn't have a superintendent at the time either.
Correct.
I think we looked at it the last meeting, Wendy, and you were not here, when we put Dr. Burnham on there.
Correct.
You were on vacation. So, do you would like to take a moment to review? The first page, policy development and review is myself and Jim.
In my notes, but I was there.
I don't remember that either.
I don't either. Jim, are you okay with all you have?
I know, like,
You do have a lot.
He said I don't have a life.
Oh, you do though, you're on other committees.
This charter, is it, yeah, it's charter.
It's going to be, not supposed to be very long.
What?
Well,
Charter review shouldn't be very long.
That's what they
Charter's
said
now
last
the
year.
whole year.
You weren't at that meeting. You missed the meeting where they told us we were going to be presenting it next
That's the next
May,
time.
so we were going to be
Oh.
working on it for the whole year.
Oh, are we?
Yeah. Surprise, sorry.
Surprise.
And I was like, are you kidding? No, yes, because that, yes,
Well,
they were tricked.
there was a reason that we...
I don't know
I mean,
who it was.
Do you want me to
don't
take
remember.
something from you is my question, because you have a lot. And I have two.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah,
Wendy wants
when we
policy
re-
back,
when
is
we
really what
re-
she's saying.
When we reordered, there was a reason, I thought.
I don't know what it was.
Well, that I couldn't take.
The policy, huh?
No, I didn't think so.
I can't take, I'm stuck on the school councils because of the other ones are earlier. So primary, I had to take primary only because they meet later. And that's the only one I can attend. And athletic advisory, I was feeling like could be somewhat of a conflict, but I could, it's...
No, well, I'll continue with the athletic advisory.
So no, it's up to you if you're,
Policy review. Or charter review, but that might be weird to switch.
it's up to, I mean, I'm
Well, we
willing
haven't
to
had
step in.
policy development reviewed so far this
No,
session.
no, we haven't.
So I guess we could revert back to...
To Wendy?
Wendy then.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion?
We do need to make a motion to change that to back to Wendy. So I need a motion.
You guys okay with that?
Are you all right with that?
Are you okay with that? Because if you want to keep it, I certainly don't want to take it, but it's just a lot. That's why and I'll step into charter
because-
review if you want, but...
Well...
No.
Well,
Right, I feel like you guys are in that, so...
because I wasn't there knowing that we would be waiting, going until May.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's appropriate then that we switch.
Yeah.
If-
No, yeah, we were
If
tricked.
you don't mind.
That was a trick.
So...
Yeah, okay, so I need a motion for that.
All right, so I'll make a motion to
Okay.
appoint Wendy Bertrand for Policy
She
Review
was on that
Committee
one.
in lieu of Jim Levesque.
Yes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, all right, so then, so our policy, so number 3, at the regular meeting, the school committee will discuss areas of school department operations which may require, okay, so on the first meeting in October, do you want to do the same thing? We'll figure out what new policy we need to review, and 6,000? We can keep that one similar.
Yes, I think
On
that
the
we also have to look
3rd.
at what we have left in the 6,000.
Yes, so we have to have a meeting and then update that.
Yep, yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Finalize, adopt, and utilize the strategic plan, vision, and goals.
I feel like one is done.
Done.
Yeah.
One was done well.
Okay, at the workshop meeting, we did that. That's the calendar. We did that, right?
We dealt with calendar, yep.
All right.
And-
Girl,
and
we
this
don't
is-
need goals.
yeah,
Okay, so one goal is to make sure that the next, no, that's capital plan, superintendent's entry plan, correct? We have to make sure that aligns with our strategic plan, which she was going to show us in a little bit. So, do you want to do that now, or word it? Or do we want to work on this, or do you want to save this for another day, the next one?
I think people will need some time to think
Yeah.
about it. I think I've got a couple of
Because
things
we're
in my head that I'll just-
basically starting at ground zero.
Yeah.
I mean, we can take number 3, which
But other than
says
that, we did the other stuff.
looking at policies to review for the year.
Yeah.
Our first 2 goals from last year were completed.
Yeah.
There wasn't any work left on them, so, yeah.
Kind of an open slate there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna provide you with feedback on this. Okay. Everybody, will you provide Dr. Burnham with feedback on what you think we should incorporate into our goals?
Yes, you should.
Okay? Okay. All right. And the draft capital plan, Mr. Londa.
Good evening. This is the draft capital plan for FY 20 through 29. Quick summary of where we are currently. So we are wrapping up the completion of the FY 19 projects. We had 2 projects in FY 19, $30,000 for replacement phone system for primary school. That installation is complete. We're working through one other issue with that having to do with access to the paging system. I'm told that's going to get resolved. And then the second project was $130,000 for asbestos abatement for removing of ceilings and flooring in 6 classrooms in Turkey Hill Elementary. And that was $130,000. We did find out that Senator Dean and his staff put in the funding, and we did get that. So that $130 comes in and replaces the capital expenditure out of the town's budget. So that's good news. So
That is good news. I did see that when he posted that.
So this plan it looks at where we are over the next 10 years. There's some changes I made from what we had last year in the out years, and I'm going to really focus on that. So we had asbestos abatement is continuing with the idea that in FY 20 we would tackle the 2nd floor hallway, the second stairwell, and we have one classroom that adjoins that stairwell that also has not been done. So in all total, we think that's about $162,000 just for all that work. So that's a pretty big number, and so that's why I'm reflecting it as being the only project for next year.
How close were we on the estimate for the fiscal year 19 items?
So the total cost of this project is roughly, it should come in about $140,000. We had $10,000 that we allocated at the end of FY 18 out of the capital improvement line of the school maintenance budget, and we used we didn't initially appropriate against that project as something goes wrong, and we did have some things go wrong. We found additional asbestos that we didn't know about above the ceiling. That'll be abated. So we started it in a good position, but then we didn't wind up going over.
You don't know what's there until you go back.
Well, that's so we're really not able to look above the ceilings without taking the ceilings apart, and then you really have to breach the area you're trying to keep contained. So we see that as being completion of a large part of the school. We did have 2 classrooms that we did not deal with on the first floor. So the art room, room 114, and the old home ec room, room 113. Those 2 have not been done. And at one point we thought that there was not going to be any asbestos above those ceilings. And then during this school year we actually found out there was. So I've rolled them into a FY 21 project at $98,000.
Oh, that's 98, okay.
Yeah, so that's work still to be done. We try to keep these areas contiguous so that it saves us money because we're not setting up separate containment areas and have separate testing. It just tests as one big area. But the impact of that really is that in last year's plan, we had looked at trying to start the work on dealing with air conditioning for Lunenburg Primary School, which would have been to start some of the engineering work this year to confirm up the costs, get an initial design, and just be prepared to do that in FY21. So though in this plan, I bumped both those 1 year, and so now they sit with design, $10,000 of design in '21 and $300,000 in FY22. Like I said, with the design work, we would then be able to fine-tune that $300,000. I think it would come down, give you kind of just a benchmark. So we added air conditioning here for 6 units in this building, and it was $500,000. So 300 may be a little high, but we do have kind of some same issues we had here, which is we have to crane all the equipment to the roof, we have to get some electrical, and then connections and some control work. So there are various aspects to it. But so that's one of the big impacts of that. I also bumped the admin air conditioning for Turkey Hill into '21, and I'd like to try to keep the air conditioning together because we're going to rely upon the engineer to kind of give us guidance on how we best structure that part of the work as well. So that will put $136,000 in FY21. The other parts I just wanted to kind of highlight on this plan was FY24. In past versions of this, we were carrying $1 million in FY24, and so I'm showing it at $500,000. But there's a point on that is that if we're doing $1 million project, that's an MSBA assistance project, and we should be tapping into that. And so our share will be roughly around 50%. Okay. So that's why you're seeing it as $500,000. But it is clearly $1 million project if we do the roof. And like I said, there is trade-offs if you do the roof. You wind up bumping future work out 10 more years before you deal with any other issues besides that. And as far as the kind of large-scale project.
Question, I noticed the life of the building 10 years longer?
Well, I have a question on that.
So like I said, I think this is a tough thing to come to grips with, because like I said, the building will be 50 years old next year.
Right.
Or this year. It will be 50 years old in 2019.
69, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have systems like electrical and plumbing that are up there. We are dealing with this asbestos, which is giving us at least some boost on the overall appearance of the areas we're working in. But HVACs, the original equipment from 1969, is the ventilation of the building and is the exhaust for the building. Yes. And controls are mostly pneumatic controls. They are working, and we do have a fight with it occasionally, but pneumatic controls are working, and we are able to get parts for it. But the decision really is okay. When do we really want to do that? Does that come earlier, or is it something that needs to happen in FY34?
Right.
Like pushing it out.
Right.
And that was my question. In looking at the next 6 fiscal years, there's just over $1 million in Turkey Hill.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were at the meeting with Dr. Berthume, when he asked you to come back with that plan, saying we need to push out, potentially looking at another building project at least 10 years. I see the drop off at FY26. Are we sort of looking at that time like no more there because our future puts us at looking at a new building just from...
I think it really comes down to whether or not we're able to take a project to the citizens of the town.
Right.
And if you're not, and if you can't sell it, then you're continuing to try to maintain, hold the building together. And so the reaction to okay, well, push this out 10, 15 years was, okay, a robust maintenance effort, have to stay on top of everything.
Absolutely.
Right.
Which
And,
you have.
and, and the roof is the one thing that you look at and say, okay, right now, we have no leaks, but, we keep pushing the roof out there. The roof was installed between 1996 and 1998, so the further out you go, there are things that can be done for roofs that are cheaper to extend the life, and we did one of those kind of things at the Pastios, because we were having leaks everywhere, and we reseamed and we bought time on the Pastios. But so a similar concept could be done with Turkey Hill. We do have to consider whether our existing solar contract has the requirement for the contractor to remove solar panels one time.
One time.
That expires in 25.
25 solar contract.
And that is, it's a cost to do that. I don't know that that's the driving cost. I think really the driving thing here is the long-term vision of Turkey Hill. Is it a replacement or is it a renovation? Because that drives where, are we spending money so we can use it for 30 years? Or are we spending money so we can tear it down?
And if we ask the MSBA for money for the roof, does that change anything about what we can ask them for in the future? Does that delay us in asking for
It does.
money?
It delays 10 years. I don't believe it would delay, and I'm showing on here in FY26, $120,000 for boilers.
But that's under the primary. Does that apply for Turkey Hill also?
Well, no, I'm sorry. That's another MSBA type of project. But it doesn't affect that one.
Right.
But they said, I think on Turkey Hill, if you said, well, we're going to do the roof, we'll get MSBA help 2024, we're now saying
2034.
2034 for
A project.
a project of some kind. And it could be, I don't think it commits you to renovating.
Just
to do
a
the
project.
roof. But you have to decide to, and it comes down to, like I said, an evaluation of the building at that point, what we see about the kinds of needs we have in the future. And like when we did look at Lunenburg High School, there were two things that were really driving the train here. I think one was, look, the ventilation system is inadequate and we can't renovate it. And if we wanted to bring air conditioning in, we'd have to drop all the ceilings down. And that really became a big hurdle to renovate in a lot of ways. There were other issues too with ADA. I think Turkey Hill had some of those, but maybe not as many of them.
So do you see the need potentially for a feasibility study before we get to FY23 or 24 when we're looking at the roof project?
No, I think that in 23, 24, that's when this decision kind of needs to be made. Either, at that point, we're like, okay, yeah.
So, right, that's what I'm saying.
And we're pushing this
Should
thing out.
we do a feasibility study before that?
That's what I'm asking. When do we need to take a look at that?
I would say that, in FY23, we're probably considering putting in a statement of interest with the MSBA and have them come out and look at the building and kind of put it in some kind of
recommendation
view of how it fits against everything else they're dealing with, to include hopefully the roofing projects and things like that, so we know, okay, well, it can go, and yes, it'll be $500,000. We'll use the roofing the solar contractor to remove all the solar, and we'll do that work. So I do see us doing something in 23 to try to push this issue forward.
When did we start paying on the note? Back in the spring for this building? Or was it the spring before?
I thought it was last spring.
It was last spring, so we're about a year and a half in, right?
Yeah.
I was just trying to kind of do math in my head.
Yeah, this one I think is a 30-year bond, so it's out there quite a
It's not
ways.
sorry, not that. That's why Craig, Dr. Bruce.
I know, he knew. He did. Okay.
The only other things I would say, like I said, is I have changed from what I had last year. Last year I boiler replacement, and now I'm saying, well, look, we should put that in one project with MSBA assistance, come in and change all the boilers from cast iron boilers to a gas condensing boiler. That will, we'll have had 21 years on, at least 20 years on the existing set of boilers. This would be an upgrade. It would be energy savings as well. And we might also be able to try to get some kind of maybe green community funds potentially, or try to get some of that involved. But the green community grants, when we get those, it's about $250,000 if we're successful. So it could fit into something like that. And then the last part for the district, you see all the vehicles there.
Yeah.
And we have. This just kind of gets us into a rhythm of making sure we update things in a timely manner, and not a bunch of broken down vehicles trying to service snow removal and care for the district.
Didn't we recycle one last?
We picked up a recycle one, and that's not in service now.
Oh, it's not?
So it is. So I don't have that one.
It was recycled.
I have that one on here, but it's way out there.
Yeah, well, it was, yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah. So we're going to.
Okay.
That doesn't go very far.
No, I know.
And we don't do snow removal with it, so
It's just,
it's around for ground.
yeah, okay.
And out in FY28, I have a replacement mower. Our mower by then will be 28 years old.
Okay.
And they're expensive, but
They're big.
we've gotten good use on them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You're already ready to present to capital planning. Let me know when we're having a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, superintendent entry plan.
So I'm just going to
Yeah,
step over to the
go
controls.
ahead. Yep.
So the entry plan is a document that really outlines the structured inquiry process that I am going to engage in over the better part of the next year. I think it's important for it to be documented so it's clear and transparent and everybody knows the process that I'm engaging in. The process itself, there are a few goals. It's really important to engage in this process so that I can get a better understanding of the current teaching and learning practices in place in the district, including anything from student performance and growth, our achievement gaps, not that we'll have to worry about the gaps so much anymore, and just any data that I can assess in order to determine how to move the district forward in a way with continuous improvement. It's really important for me to understand the culture, not only of the whole community, but the district as a whole and each individual school building. As I talked about many times in my interview process, relationships are really important to me. And this process will allow me face-to-face time with many facets of the community. And it provides me an opportunity to start to build some of those relationships. It also is important that I'll be visible out and about in the schools and in the community. This process is important to help me develop a knowledge and understanding of the strengths and challenges of the district, values and expectations, and current and future needs. And I'm going to bring this back to your strategic plan that your district worked hard to develop, and you're entering year 2 of that district strategic plan. For me, I'm going to try to assess the capacity of the district to execute the plan as it's written. Do we have the right kind of resources, trained staff, etc., etc.? So this plan is going to have 3 phases. In the first phase, which is going to take place all fall and into the early part of winter, I'm going to be doing several things. First, I'm going to be reading lots of documents and any available data that I can secure relative to the district. As you can see, there's a pretty exhaustive list, and I imagine that somewhere along the way, I'll probably uncover additional documents that I didn't anticipate and didn't include on this list. But if I come across anything that isn't here, I will certainly be reviewing that as well.
Town charter.
Town charter, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I will also be gathering data by observing. What do I see? I will be setting up a schedule so that I can make sure that I am in classrooms and in schools regularly. I will be attending a variety of school events, from athletics to academics, performances in the arts, faculty and department meetings, our collaborative board meetings, any professional development staff trainings that we've got going on in the district, other community events, municipal meetings. I've already been to a finance committee meeting, and I was at the Board of Selectmen meeting last evening. I was invited to meet the board for the Boys and Girls Club back in July. And last night I actually attended a Lions Club meeting as well, before I headed off to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Yeah, busy. But it's great. You know, it really helps me to become immersed in the life of the community and see all the different facets. There are some wonderful, wonderful resources here in terms of the community. So I'm also going to be listening. What do I hear from people? There are many groups that I will be interviewing, either individually or in small group settings, and in order to get feedback from the greatest amount of folks, I will also put out an online survey with the same questions that I would use in a focus group setting, so that folks who can't participate at one of the face-to-face sessions can provide their feedback to me online. So these are the questions. I'm looking to find out from various perspectives what's the greatest strength of our school district and the community, what's the biggest challenge we face as a school district and community, what does the school district and community value most and should be maintained at all costs. Are there specific ways I can help support people in their work? And I'll ask if they could offer me one piece of advice to consider moving forward. So by winter 2019, after the holidays, I'm hopeful that I will have had an opportunity to meet with all of those groups, conduct all of those interviews, retrieve information through the online survey, etc. And this is where I'm going to start to triangulate the data. The data that I read, what I observed, and what I heard. Where are there common themes, patterns, trends? Are there discrepancies amongst groups in the information that I heard? I'll be synthesizing and analyzing all of the data that I've pulled together from that variety of activities and making sense of it. What does it mean? So after I'm able to identify the emerging patterns, trends, themes, I will write a summary of the findings. And as is best practice, you want to go back to some of those groups and let them see your interpretation after you synthesize all that information to be sure that you got it right. So I'll take a draft document back to some groups, have them read and give me feedback. Did I get it right? If I didn't get it right, I will have to do some revision to make sure that I'm actually capturing accurately the information that they want me to be able to move forward with. And finally, there'll be a final draft that I will bring in and present publicly to the school committee. And then after that public presentation, I'm into a different phase. That public presentation initiates that final stage. After all of this information is presented, I'd like some time to reflect on it with the leadership team. Think about what the key findings in that entry plan report mean. How do they align with the district strategic plan? If we need to make any minor revisions or tweaks to the strategic plan, we'd be able to come back to the school committee with that recommendation. We may not need to make any revisions to the strategic plan. But then moving forward, we also take the key findings from the entry plan report and use them to inform the development of what is typically called a district improvement plan that's written annually. I'd like to think of it more as a district strategy for continuous improvement. That's a one-year plan. And it's important to me to find coherence, right? Bring things together so that things are connected and aligned. My hope is that the entry plan findings, I will be able to align with the district strategic plan, that 5-year plan that was written, and also make the connection back to the annual district improvement plan for the next year. I feel that, oftentimes in districts, there's this plan with goals, and there's another plan with goals, and another plan with goals, and it can get really confusing for the school community to know, well, what plan is that, and what goal is that, and how many goals do we have now? If I can find a way to connect the entry plan findings to the strategic plan, reinforce that with the district improvement plan that's developed, it starts to bring everything into a focus. And we can all get behind. So if I have a district improvement plan aligned to the strategic plan, and if school improvement plans connect to that district improvement plan, we're all thinking and working on the same focus, or a handful of small focal areas that we're really going to invest our resources, time, human resources, financial resources, because we're going to try to identify what are the key strategies, what are the key levers that we can use to move the district forward and get that momentum for continuous improvement. And that's it. Questions? I am going to be busy. I am for sure.
Your plan is quite extensive. Is that typical of what superintendents do when they do their entry plan?
Yeah.
Your workshops have...
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep. And there, different superintendents might approach it different ways, how they write it up. The actual written document that I give is pretty streamlined.
Right.
I think it's best not to be too wordy.
No, it's better, yeah.
Right?
Bullet points.
Here it is in a nutshell, and these are the details to move forward, just so that it's nice and clean and clear. But the most important thing really in my mind is that you're trying to get information from a variety of methods, right? Talking face-to-face, observing for yourself. Is what I'm hearing matching what I'm seeing? Do the documents that I'm reading match what I'm seeing? Do they match what I'm hearing? Are there disconnects places? Are there places where, oh no, this is very well connected. I'm getting the same message from all of these areas. You just have to, as one of my professors said during my doctoral program, you have to commune with your data. You have to live with it a bit to make sense of it, right? And that's what I'll be doing. and I think it's a really valuable process. I know that I engaged in a very similar process as I became an assistant superintendent, not to the degree of writing a plan at the end of the process, but certainly making sure that I was out and about in the schools, attending events, reading as much as I could about the documents that were in place just to get a historical perspective. Fill the gaps. What documentation do we need? What's outdated? What needs to be updated and revised? And talking to people. That's the real joy that's going to come in. I'm particularly looking forward to having focus group discussions with students. So I'm anxious to have them come back to school. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my, what a breath of fresh air. Okay, old business. Oh yeah. The proposed fees for So you've been working hard with the Lunenburg Youth Football Association, right?
Yes. We entered into this process, I feel, with an open mind and a spirit of collaboration to come up with a resolution. We met with Mr. Quartermarsh, myself, Mr. Cassidy, Mr. Londa. We took a look at the facilities that were being used and all of the services that are attached to that use of these types of facilities, because they are using not only the field space but also gymnasiums for the cheerleading portion of their programming. We looked at ways that we could reduce the number of fields they were accessing or the number of evenings that they were accessing fields, reduce from 2 gymnasiums to 1. So we've been engaged in a process. I will say that at this point, we have not heard back from the organization as to whether or not our last proposal is acceptable to them.
Which one is the last one? The bottom?
We proposed
This one?
a reduction to $4,990 with a reduction in access to facility and services that go along with the facility. They came back to us and said that they couldn't make that fee payment because that's not what they had budgeted. They told us that their budgeted amount was $4,750. So now we're talking a difference of $240.
$49.
So we proposed some additional options for cuts, even more cuts to the services and the facilities. So we provided them those 2 options, and we have not heard back from the organization as to whether or not those additional cuts, either option, was viable for them.
And when did they receive that updated version? When did that go to them?
Was that Monday?
Was it Monday?
We sent that on Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Okay.
And we haven't heard back.
And the other requirements are that...
So in order to do this, we wanted to be able to cover the reduction in cost out of the account that's a revolving account that the facilities fees go into.
Yes.
Last year, a new organization asked for access to the facilities, so it wasn't an organization that we had been dealing with prior. So this was new revenue coming in. So that was for the lacrosse group, the Leominster-Lunenburg lacrosse group. Last spring, they used the fields, but at this point, that invoice has not been paid.
Unpaid.
So this proposal, we made clear, was contingent upon our ability to secure the payment that is outstanding. It was contingent upon school committee approval. It was a one-time, one-year proposal, and after this fall season, the fee goes back to the $8,500.
And they were okay with that? Did they say yes to that part of the agreement?
Well, they haven't
Said anything?
said yes to any of it.
Okay.
Yes.
And yet they're using our fields?
They are currently using our fields. They have been using the fields for practices. They used the turf field for a clinic on July 16th.
Without permit, correct?
Without a permit. The field use to date is without a permit. We did receive a permit request for the turf field for this evening for a scrimmage game. That is not included in this negotiated fee.
So that's going to need to be an
That will be
additional
billed-
invoice.
That will be, that's right.
Hourly?
Yes.
Hourly invoice.
And there was also a permit request for use of the gym for this week because of the forecast of rain, so that the girls who are practicing with the cheerleading would have an indoor space in the event of rain. So we have those permits, but we have not received permits for practices that have been going on or the clinic that was held in July.
Just a question, are we paid up with other groups who are utilizing our space? Do they have the proper permits? It's sort of...
So, there are a few outstanding invoices. The one for the Leominster-Lunenburg lacrosse is the biggest one, and it's the one that's been sent out to them in April.
Yeah.
We haven't. I've asked several times now for it. Sent the invoice to Mr. Quartermarsh several times.
Is he the one that arranged?
He arranged for it.
is the
He's
one
on the
that
board
arranged it, yes.
of that organization. And this afternoon I got an email that referenced that I should talk to the president of the organization.
Because apparently they have questions about their invoice.
Yeah. So not sure.
After the fact of using our
So they used the
facility?
field last spring. They were invoiced in April.
And they got the invoice in April. Well, Mr. Quartermarsh did.
Yes.
And then they proceeded to use our fields.
No, this was the lacrosse group.
No, I know.
Yep.
The lacrosse group used it as agreed to,
Right, and then we invoiced them.
and they don't want to pay.
And now we're hearing that there are some questions about the invoices.
So I've asked Mr. Quartermarsh to relay my contact information to the president of that organization so we can find out what the concern is. But, it is, that was really one of our start points on trying to figure out how to make this work for them, is to know we had revenue that was owed, that was generated from the field that could then be used against...
For this year?
Yes.
Just this year?
Yeah.
Right. But in addition, for that reduction in fee, there's a reduction in access.
Correct.
So...
And when we're coming into a fall season, we have school sports who need to utilize our
field.
space.
Yeah.
They pay athletic fees.
Yes.
And, I guess my question is, how are we ensuring that people are not just using our fields?
Correct.
That's a big...
How are we monitoring?
Right, because it just seems to continue to
Policing, I
happen.
guess, is the word, policing
Right,
our
how are we
fields.
ensuring that
to make sure
people
that
who are not
they're-
paying and don't have permits
Correct.
are not using our fields? I guess that we've got to
Because
figure out how we deal with that.
I think they are.
Well,
Just coming On days.
For any group. And then the other
Yeah.
piece of this is if we negotiate,
All
does
groups
this
are-
$47.50, the last negotiation offer, does that, is that what we should be getting for all we're offering? Because
Like
we're going to
hourly.
have other groups who come to us who say, you're reducing the fee for one youth sports group.
So if we charge them
So-
an hourly rate, would it come out to that?
That's what I'm...
Right, that's what you want to know.
And not only that, then are we prepared to negotiate with other groups who say, we don't want to pay the amount that we have?
And I think that what's important here is that there's also a reduction in the access and service availability that's included.
And how do
in
we
the
monitor
negotiation.
that? How do we ensure that if we're
That's the
saying,
question.
That's a
this is the access, that there's not more being utilized?
And I will let you know as well that I had a meeting today
Basketball.
from the basketball group.
And they're waiting to see what happens with this.
How are we paying our bond for cell phone tower? Because some of the...
No, that's only part of it.
Part of it's,
That was already-
part of it's in the budget,
Yes,
in the
right.
operational budget. Part of it's from the lease with the cell phone tower.
Right.
And then the
There's a
remaining
remaining.
portion is from the groups that use the facilities.
That's what I'm saying. If monies are missing that we are counting on
How-
within our budget,
we have to find it
how
somewhere
do we
else.
make it up? And then are we taking it from students?
And
Which I have a hard time answering to anyone, because that's got to be our priority.
Correct.
I agree.
Beyond this particular negotiation, I've also made a recommendation that, or I'm bringing forward to you that I am not proposing any additional changes to the fee structure for the remainder of this year and all the way through next year. If it's a seasonal fee, it will remain at the $8,500. And I think it's important for you all to approve that notion, that there will be no changes to that flat fee, so that all of the youth groups and any other organization that's looking to use facilities
For a season.
can prepare
Yeah.
in their budgeting for that cost. I think it's important to give them that much lead time so that they can plan accordingly, whether they have to have fundraising events or raise their membership fees. I think, to give them some lead time so that they can plan for that is important. I know that you voted last year to approve those fees, but I think it's worth letting, the community know that, once again, we're voting, these are the fees in place. With that said, I think that I need to have a little bit of time to do some cost analysis and come up with a recommendation relative to hourly usage fees, because, factored into the hourly use are salaries, custodial staff, supplies, maintenance supplies and whatnot. Costs go up. So I think that we just need to spend some time and make sure that our hourly rates allow us to cover the costs that we would incur from use.
From hourly use, that's different from the...
Correct.
Right. That's what Mr. Londa worked on before, the
Correct.
hourly rates.
Right. And I mean, we may come back to you and say, nope, no
They're the same?
adjustments needed.
Okay, fine.
We're able to
Okay.
cover. But I think that, we need to do our due diligence and make sure that other related costs haven't gone up and now, we're not able to cover based on the hourly rate that we're charging.
So we're supposed to approve this, or?
I wouldn't think we would.
No, right?
They haven't approved.
They
it.
haven't
They haven't-
approved
we have to
it.
wait
They
for
haven't approved
them.
or rejected it.
So we're just going to hold off and wait until we hear
That
from
has
them.
to be held off.
But how do
they
we ensure,
shouldn't
as
be
we're
using
coming
the
in...
field.
Well, that's my question, is how can we
Until they
ensure
have an agreement.
that those that are permitted to use the fields at
Are
the
the
times
only
they're
ones.
signed up in school to are using it, and that no one else is using it in off times? Because that's wear and tear on our facilities that we have no money for. So is that something we need to look at and address?
I think, it's a possibility. I know in other communities that I've worked in, they've actually hired for a stipended amount somebody to monitor the field use. And, if, they would have a schedule for the field use, right? And if they were out and about and saw that there was a field being used, but no permit for, they would approach
The people.
and ask for their permit. And if there were no permit, they were asked to leave the property.
And if they don't?
The individual had a cell phone and would call for the police department to come and
That was my question.
enforce that request.
Well, with the permit they have to prove that they have insurance, correct?
Correct.
And we are missing insurance.
We do not have insurance binders from this group yet, do we have
We
it?
did get...
We did get their
The
insurance.
Bengals one, we got that late last week.
And it was dated for July when they were on our field for the clinic?
I
I'm
just
just
looked to ensure that
wondering.
the town was insured. I'm not sure I looked at the
Okay.
dates per se, but...
I think it's just, in the interest of being transparent and fair, I think you've worked hard to put some policies and procedures in place. And
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of respect that those who want to use the facilities follow the procedure as outlined.
And respect for the groups that do follow policy and
Exactly.
procedure to utilize them, particularly our students. These are community organizations we're talking about. We've had, over the last handful of years, we've had increases in athletic fees for students just who attend school here, just to play a sport.
Correct.
So, in fairness to that,
Yes, our fees are more than those organizations charge their kids to play,
right,
substantially more.
I feel like our priority needs to be our students who attend school here. I don't know how everybody else feels, but...
Well, I would agree.
So we're going to wait till we hear from them.
But do we want to do anything in the interim to ensure that our fields are not being used? I don't know, but I'm just saying they have been being used without permits. So the thought that that won't happen again might be wrong.
Well, I think it's something that maybe we could do a little research and find out if there are other districts that have a stipended position to monitor field
Yeah,
use.
that would be great.
Yeah.
To find a comparable stipend so that we could come back and propose
A position.
that's stipended for that purpose.
That makes sense.
That would
Yeah,
make
it does.
sense.
We have a big campus with a lot of fields now,
Right.
and
And unless you
Yeah.
have a schedule and know who's there,
supposed to
you
be
wouldn't
there.
know
No.
who it is.
Exactly.
you would have no idea.
Or if they're on the appropriate field.
Correct, yes.
So,
Okay. So that, you're going to start that, we're going to wait to see if we hear from them.
that works. And are you all set with potentially approving no change to
The fee,
the
the
seasonal fee?
That we had already approved? We're just reapproving.
Right.
We're reinforcing that that's what the
One we
fee
already
was. Yes.
agreed to.
Correct.
Through
The
fiscal
one
year
that's in the
20.
policy.
Right,
Isn't it
through
a
the end
policy?
of June
20.
next year, so that all of the organizations,
Well, 2019 or 2020? Just so I'm clear.
2019.
That's what-
June of 19 would just be through the...
The fiscal year.
This
This fiscal year.
Okay, that's what I was
But I'm
trying,
proposing that
through 20.
we maintain that that is the fee for seasonal use all of next year, so that those who want to use the facilities in the fall
Oh, okay.
can
Yeah.
plan this
Correctly,
spring
when they're
to
looking at their
to build their
budget.
budgets in a way that they can
Yes.
factor in that operational cost.
Yes, okay.
So it's a motion to reapprove the seasonal
The seasonal,
fee of $8,500 through the end of fiscal year 20.
and was that written in the policy? Is that what we have written in our policy, the 85?
Yes, it was.
It was, right?
It
We worked on that.
absolutely was.
Yeah.
I can tell you that was
That
certainty,
was
because
what
we did that together.
it,
Yep.
yes. Okay, that's what I thought.
And that would be found on the
I
website.
just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
For anybody who wanted to
Yes.
look it
Yes.
up.
Right.
That policy,
Yeah.
yes.
So essentially, what I'm recommending is no change
No
to the
change.
seasonal fee.
Correct. So, a motion to, do we need to make sure that it's,
I'll make a
Clear.
motion to maintain the seasonal fee of $8,500 user fee through fiscal year 20.
all in favor? Oh, I need a second.
Just as a point of discussion,
Yeah.
can we take a vote on this one? It's not an agenda item per se.
Oh, I'm not sure we can.
I don't think we can.
No, we're going to have to put it on the next agenda.
Um,
You're right,
Good job.
I think we,
yeah. Just in
I
case
didn't- that's
somebody
right.
wants to come
Can talk about it.
and
Yep.
speak to us about it, yeah. It's already,
It's already
It's already
been
voted.
voted on, and it's already in
yes,
policy.
it's
but
already there. We
can-
were just clarifying. So we don't really actually technically have
I was
to.
gonna say, do we have to
take
because
a
it's
vote?
already
Because
there.
there's no change. We're not
There's
looking to
not-
make a change.
yeah.
We're just
Reaffirming,
reaffirming that
Going
that
forward.
these are the fees.
yes.
And should we put that somewhere in writing so it's clear? Because now it lives in our policy, but unless someone goes looking for it, they're not necessarily going to see it. Is there a way we
I
can
think that we
better
could probably
clarify?
work on some information that we could put on the website under that link for facilities use.
The fee schedule somewhere?
It's there somewhere.
Send it directly to
We can
the
make sure that it's
organization.
right.
But let's
Very
make sure that the
clear.
seasonal, it says right there, because some of them have the asterisk and it says seasonal needs a contract. But we need to make it clear that that is the contract,
Yep.
$8,500, not that we're going to negotiate a contract every time someone wants to use our facility
Right.
seasonally.
Right.
Right,
Okay.
as we set forward a fee schedule, lights, everything has its fee.
We
then
need
this
to,
is
yes, we'll need
our-
to negotiate the time and all of that when they'll use it for on-school duty and stuff.
Right.
But we don't need to negotiate the fee for the
Right.
seasonal use. The other things will be, negotiated, the times and all that, but the fee itself should remain the same.
And since we're doing the updates with the website, that would just be
Yeah.
another point of clarification right there.
Okay.
Okay?
Mhm. Thank you, Mr. Londa. Okay, so, public comment. We don't need public comment? No? Charter review report. I provided everyone with the language for the charter in the school committee section 3.3 in the language. So if you take a look at that language and see if there's anything that you would like to revise or update and let us know for the next meeting, that would be ideal. Okay? Do you have anything to add to that, Jim?
I have nothing to add to that.
No, right? Okay. Athletic advisory. Did you have a meeting?
I have not, we have not had a meeting. The next one is scheduled for September,
Oh.
I want to say 4th?
Jim.
That's a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always have them on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Okay. Jim,
I want to say 4th.
we need to find out what's going on with Snack Shack. I know it's just that the booster
I
clubs
have,
need to be told, and I believe that somebody spoke with Neshoba today, Board of Health, from band, from Music Gators.
All right, so, and actually, I can just seen it through. I got an email, it looks like today.
Okay.
Apparently, so Dean had been working with them.
Yep.
With Neshoba. He said he's been back and forth with Neshoba Association of Health about the stand. It's going to be a no-go for almost all food out of that stand.
No go. All
Yeah.
food that's
that's
not
not
packaged.
prepackaged.
Food that's not prepackaged.
And that includes pizza, popcorn,
Basically,
So basically, it's bags of chips and Gatorade
And
and
candy.
and
Yeah.
candy.
Things that come in there, individual.
I didn't get some of the answers to some of the questions around the permitting.
for selling that other
Or
stuff.
selling that stuff, but I need, so I'll have to make a point to call Dean tomorrow.
Okay, okay. And can you update us? Or, it's just that we have to get that information out to the booster clubs that will be starting soon?
Yes, well, and I would be emailing the distribution list.
Okay, and that's all of your booster club reps?
That's all the Booster Club
Okay.
reps, as well as, I need to get our new AD's email address, make
Excellent,
sure that I have that
okay,
as well.
Yeah, it seems to
He's
put like a
involved.
co-chair, isn't he?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I said we'll be spending quality time together.
Yes, you will. Okay. All right, thank you. Finance Committee? Who's that? Is that Karen?
That's me, and I called Terry, the chairperson
Yep.
of the committee, and she said there was no need for me to attend any meetings yet, but when I had something to report, feel free to do so. But starting in September, I will watch the agendas and...
Okay.
I will-
All right, and...
She said, enjoy your summer evening, you do not need to come to a
Oh,
meeting.
yeah.
So,
And next week, we'll be, myself, Jamie Toll, and Tim Murphy, the town moderator, will be interviewing 2 candidates to replace the absent. There's a vacancy for Mr. Erickson on Finance Committee right now, and so we are interviewing the 2 people we sent in. Their
Interest?
The town
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah, for that position. So I'll let you know when I know. Okay? So topics for future discussion are the blizzard bags, advisory, that's Carol, right? Carol, you were going to work on that?
that's me, but we were waiting
We're
until
holding-
the leadership team was all in
Yes,
place.
we
with
were,
the direction
because we
from
need to
Dr.
find
Vernon,
out-
what she wanted
Yeah.
us to do with this.
Yes, okay.
So
And so you
when
can speak to them.
you think the time is right, we will
We'll start it.
pursue.
Yeah, great.
But
And then, are there any other, so it would be the school committee goals, right?
Topic for future discussion.
Yeah, school committee goals. And the fee, or no? Hopefully that would be done before then.
But this is a good way to carry it through
Yes,
by
the update.
keeping it on topics for future discussion.
Yeah, for Bengals.
Because ultimately, you'll have to approve
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
the adjustment.
and when do we have, let me just see the calendar, if it's already on there. Sports updates. Back to school, well, yep, it's up there. Sports with waivers, okay.
Like I said, on the
Yep,
5th.
okay. So that's all we have right now. What else you have?
Our public comment earlier
Yes.
said something that it didn't sound to me to be school committee related.
No.
It's Booster Club.
It was, yeah.
It's anything that we need.
I will,
So I
I
would
can
think
tell
that
you
we
that.
don't need to discuss it.
I don't think so. It's also a family situation.
Aside from that, but it's
Yeah.
not, I don't think it's regulated by the school committee.
Not really, no.
Booster clubs
It's-
aren't, and their
yeah,
activities
Booster
are
clubs
not
No.
regulated by
Neither
us.
Yep.
But, all right. Just making sure that we didn't need to add that in here.
No, but I can tell you that
Don't need.
if you want further, and I will talk to superintendent about that. Okay. So now we're going to go into executive session, MGLT 30A, Section 21A2, principal contracts, and to conduct strategy session in preparation for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, not to come back to a public meeting.
Roll call?
Roll